Thank you for your interest in this weekly TEXITcoin sales training call with Gaige Blake. It is a fantastic call filled with great information. Unfortunately, Gaige's camera did not work, but the audio is perfect. Sit back, close your eyes if you like, and enjoy.
Welcome, everybody, to another week of Monday Night Sales Call. It's 6 o'clock. Can anybody hear me? Can anybody raise a hand? I do not know why on my side it looks like my camera is not working. But if anybody can hear me, put a hand up or drop something in the chat, so that way I know you can still hear me. Can you see me? I see Chrisanne says that she can hear me. Are you able to see me right now? Because I do not know why I'm looking at a blank screen. We can hear you but not see you. That is interesting. I'm really not sure why. I haven't had this issue before. No camera on. So that's interesting. Well, I'm not really sure why my camera's not working. I've used this computer now for the last several weeks and haven't had an issue. So, well, we're going to try to work our way through it. As we're still having people jump on here, so we'll give it just a minute. But if anybody has any topics that they would like for me to discuss, if they would like to jump on here and be promoted and go through anything one-on-one or anything like that, drop it into the Q&A and we'll talk about it. We've had for the last several weeks now, we've went through the sales process, but then we've been hearing from some of our great leaders out there. Like last week we had Mitchell Tucker, and then before that we had Jay Horton. Before that we had Joe Jaquint. And, these guys have been bringing tons and tons of knowledge to the discussion, that we have here each and every week. And so, if we need to dig deep into anything that we've already been going over the last few weeks, let me know, because I can elaborate more on that. And so going forward next week, we're going to have another special guest. I've already got somebody lined up for next week that couldn't make it this week, and that will be Jennifer and possibly Jason Hommel. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I know they've been doing a huge amount of work out there. They do more of the in-person live events, the coin shows, and all the different types of events out there in person, where they're just out there, signing up tons and tons of people, and they're mostly people that they don't know. So I'm pretty excited next week to hear from them and what their secrets are on what's led to their success. But, something that we don't really talk about a whole lot is the technology at hand too. I know a lot of people out there from the sales side of things, or even if you're not from the sales side of things, it's kind of even more to your advantage to use some of these CRMs or, some of these different apps and the technology that we have to capture leads. But not only that, but also like what Mitchell Tucker was talking about last week with Slick Text. He has the ability to blast out text messages to a whole lot of different people. And, you need to use some type of deal like that or CRM to actually keep everybody's info that you're running into out there organized. So then that way you can implement simple processes that you can go and follow up with these people. I don't know. I know this. It doesn't really matter how great you are or who you are. We can always benefit from doing a little bit better job. We can always benefit from doing a little bit more, being a little bit more organized, a little bit more structured. And, that goes to the old saying of, how do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It just, as we improve step by step, little by little, week after week, that's where this thing, that's where you're really going to lead to success, but then also get the results that you're wanting as well. And so the follow-up game that we've been talking about the last couple weeks, is always the hardest part of the sales process, because it takes many and many and many different touches before you actually convert that person. On average, the statistics say that you have to contact somebody 12 times before you get that conversion. And that's really tough, and it's really hard for a lot of people to do, because again, after you've hit them 3, 4, 5, 6 times, sometimes, most of the time, a lot of people just quit responding, right? Or they don't message you back, or they blow you off and say, okay, yeah, we'll get with me next week, right? And you just keep getting that, and it gets pushed back and pushed back to where you never get that meeting, or you never get that time, right? Because everybody's busy. And so that's the trick you really got to focus on with that follow-up, is grabbing the attention and getting people's minds. You got to open them up so they're receptive and willing to give you their time and attention. Because in the world today, in everybody's life, there's a million advertisements you see a day. Whether it's driving down the road and you hear them on the radio, see a billboard, watching TV and see a commercial. When you add all those things up, emails, text messages, when you add all that up, everybody sees ads constantly, all day, every day, all day long. And, so you really got to make yourself stand out, and you got to follow up super strong. And another great way to do it is use pictures. When I respond with people with text messages, and I'm following up, some of these people, they just ghost you, and sometimes they don't even mean to, right? Everybody's just busy, and life gets in the way, and sometimes they just stop responding, and it's not because they mean to, it's just because they're busy. Because I've had it a lot of times where people, as you're following up with them, and they stop responding to you, you finally run into them somewhere at the gas station, the grocery store, or what have you, and you hit them up again, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm so interested, I really want to do it, I've had this and this come up, but get with me this weekend, and we'll sit down and talk about it, right? And so if you can focus and put yourself in the position to where you can have that happen when you're going into that follow-up process, and run into these people, or find them, somehow get their attention, get that meeting set like that, and then you got to stay on them. You got to strike when the iron's hot. You got to stay on them and follow up, and confirm that meeting. And so what a lot of people do, what I like to do, is just ask the question, well, hey, I'll touch base with you on Saturday. Is there any reason right now that you can foresee the reason why, or any reason why we can't have this meeting? And most of the time they're going to say, nope, I'm good. I'm going to make sure I'm good for Saturday. That's not a problem. Just text me, blah, 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 call me this time. We're good to go. Okay, no problem. And if you stay on them, follow up the next day with a text, little picture, something with TEXITcoin, and stay on them all the way up until that meeting, you're going to have a little bit better conversion rate with that. I've got some friends from the hot tub business I'm looking at bringing on here in the next week or two to talk more about follow-up, because, they're absolute masters with it. And they've had a very long career, just being successful with the follow-up game. And so that's one thing I'm super excited about. They wasn't able to make it this week either. So that'll be coming soon. Philip just says, when Facebook messaging or phone contact lists that you have not spoken to in years, what's a good initial script? When using the Mike Healy funnel system, my follow-up script. So I don't really do scripts. I have a couple like guidelines that I follow, but I don't have like a written out paragraph, 3 or 4 or 5 sentences, whatever, just scripted, right? Because I don't like to do too much of the, robot script type system. I like to be a lot more casual about it. I like to really have folks believe we're just having a conversation, a very casual conversation, right? And so, you know, the good, like something I just say, and I keep it short, sweet, and to the point. You know, if I'm following up with somebody that I talked to a day or two ago, I'm going to say, hey, have you had time to look into this, right? Did you have time to do what I told you to do, which is, check out our website or watch this YouTube video I sent you, right? I usually try to ask a direct question when I'm following up um, about what we've talked about previous. Because most of the time, if I'm having a conversation with somebody um, and I don't close them and I'm going to be following up, I've usually done enough or sent them something or something to follow up on. See, the key is always have something you can follow up on. You never want to reach out and say, some of the things we'll talk about that. Some of the things that you don't want to do is say, in a couple days, hey Mike, just following up with you about our conversation about TEXITcoin, right? Nobody's really going to respond to that. There's no like, oh yeah, what do you want? The person that you're following up with is really not going to engage you with something like that, right? So what I try to do is follow up specifically on, hey Mike, talked to you a couple days ago, about TEXITcoin, and I sent you that video. Did you have time to watch that video? Right? And you ask that direct question, and a lot of times you'll get that response with, "Oh yeah, I watched it. I don't know," or maybe sometimes they'll say no, no, I didn't watch it. Um, or sometimes if they don't respond, that means they didn't watch it, right? And so then I'll follow up with if you don't get a response from that or something like that, try to call a couple hours later, or later that day. I don't really like to, back in the hot tub days of my life, it was a lead comes in, you call, text, email until these people get on the phone. I don't really do that with people with this. I try to keep it more casual and not so like high pressure sales, right? I try to keep it pretty low key. And so if I'm following up with somebody, I might send them a text and say, hey, did you watch the video I sent you last night? Blah, blah, blah. Or if you don't get a response or something, then I might call like a few hours later, something like that, give them time. And if they say, if you get them on the phone, they're like, oh no, I didn't watch it or whatever. Okay, no problem. Well, are you okay with watching videos? Ask the questions like how you want to figure out the process that they like to be sold. Everybody has a different buying process. And when you understand that and you can ask the questions and they give you the information and the actual system that they need to be sold with, that's when you have a sale. And most people will give you that when you're asking the right questions. And so I would always ask them, hey, would you like to get together and talk about it? You want me to send you some videos? Do you like to watch videos? Or, I never try to bring up the website for the simple fact that the website doesn't really give them any information on mining TEXITcoin, right? Or the seats and what our whole mission is. And so I typically stay away from that. And, I try to, really focus on doing more of the in person. Let me show you. Like what I've had great success with, Philip, is literally asking people, when can I come over and show you what I'm talking about? When I say show you, I can bring my laptop over, we can sit down, I can go through the website, I can go through everything TEXITcoin, and I can talk to you about it and I can show you, right there. And that's where I have a lot more success than trying to follow up with some text messages or a phone call, and stuff like that. Because doing over the phone's great. I can, a lot of, it's pretty easy to do. the full pitch and everything just over a phone call. But when you have the ability to show them your computer, the dashboard, the mining equipment that we put in, the different facilities, all the people in this great community, and the Telegram chat, that's where it really helps people make decisions, right? Because you can tell them and then show them. And once you tell them something that you just showed them, or showed them what you just told them, either way, then it's like gospel, right? After you show them or tell them and then show them about it, what you just told them, it really resonates better, because most people, what we learned in sales is like most people only retain about 20% of what you tell them, right? And that's where, you get that game telephone, like what everybody plays back when they're a kid. You start with something, and then as it goes from person to person to person, the entire message is completely changed, right? And that's because we only retain about 20% of what we tell of what somebody tells you. And so that's why it's important, and it's really easy to do with Zoom calls now when your camera actually works, that you can actually show people exactly what you're talking about. You can share your screen and go through that. And so I know we have a big community of people that do really great with webinars and Zoom calls. They do them every almost 3, 4, 5 nights a week now. And you can get a lot more out of something like that too than text messaging and phone calls. We really just want to use the text messaging and the phone calls to grab the attention, get the attention, to set up the meeting, right? To set them up at a webinar or Zoom call or something like that. And I don't know, what everybody else deals with the most, but what I run into the most where I'm from is most people do not want to show up at a big dinner party, or a big dinner event, or they're not going to do a Zoom call. If I send them a Zoom call of somebody else's that's going on, most of the people that I know where I'm from, they're really never going to take the time to do that kind of stuff. And so it really takes that one-on-one, that personal touch of going out there, spending the time, driving over to their house, and taking the time to actually do that. And as you can see, like, I've had great success with it. Of course, it takes up a ton of time. It's taken up a huge amount of time out of my life just doing that one-on-one with people. But it's that personal touch and, going out of your way to help people and show them what our opportunity is, that really resonates with them extremely well. And again, you don't have to go out there and try to be one of these guys that signs up 100 people in a week, right? It's just not mathematically very possible. But if you consistently talk to a few people and close a few people a week, that slow consistency over time is what leads to your big results. And then you're helping people, bring on more people in your downline, because that helps you as well. And that's where you get like these guys that are in our TEXIT Ranger program. If anybody in here has heard of the Supernova bonus, it's that type of stuff that you have to do more than just sign up people. You have to go out there and help your people sign up people, right? And so the great way to get people started in doing that is going out there and showing them how to hit their first commission, right? Helping them, put 3 points on their one side, and then have them go find somebody for you that you can go out there and talk to and help them get them signed up. So then that way they can get their first commission. They get a little taste of it. And that's what gets them motivated. That's what gets them hungry. And, once you get to the point where you have a big enough organization, you can have people bringing you people, just those amount of reps that you're going to get, talking with people, going through the full pitch, that other people are lining up these meetings. That's where everybody benefits. Not only are you going to be benefiting from it because they're on you're in your organization, you're getting points for that. They're getting commissions, they're getting points from it. And that's how this thing grows, right? That's where you get that snowball effect, where just that small little amount of consistency of, closing a couple people a week, 2 or 3 people a week. Like I said a few weeks ago, I really try to focus on those 1, 2 free bonuses. Whether that's a 1 9 pack or 3 1 packs, the just setting your mindset with that is a lot easier for me than trying to go out there and think, man, I got to get 9 points on one side, 9 points on the other. That's 18 people, or 2 9 packs, however you want to look at it. Just keeping things small and simple and focus on baby steps, right? And just that consistency over time is going to yield great results. And so, um, Boone here says, what did you like most about the information? Boone, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you elaborate a little bit more? And then I will try to figure out what you're talking about. And then, like Philip said, in the Mike Healy funnel system, guys, that's something that is pretty much free for everybody to use. It's a good resource if you need help. It's great training resources. I've watched a lot of his content. He does a great job. And Mike Healy's built one of the biggest organizations. He's a top producer. He's built one of the biggest organizations in TEXITcoin as well. And so, if he's got great content you can send to people. I think a lot of people already use his stuff, right? And send out his videos, his YouTube videos to prospects and different things like that. I think that's great. It just depends on, what their questions are and stuff like that. He pretty much has a video broke down to every specific thing. Okay, so Boone says, first question, what did you like most about the information question? That's a follow-up question to ask your prospect. Yeah, that's a good one. Asking them what they like most about the information in the video, or, a link to the website or whatever you sent them. That's a great question, because it's a direct question. It usually gets a response. And, I think that's kind of the key with the follow up. If you could really focus on just what is going to yield a response, because as soon as you have a response, then you have something to work with, even if it's a bad response or a no, right? Or something you don't want, it's still a response. You still have something to work with. The hardest thing to work with is nothing, right? When you get people that are just ghosting you, not responding, not taking a phone call, not responding to a text or an email, when they're completely ghosting you, that's the toughest, right? Because you got nothing to go on. And so focus on the direct questions of trying to yield responses. And if you can get those responses, that's the best. I just followed up with the guy I talked to a couple of days ago on the phone, and I just asked him, like, hey, did you and your wife decide against it? And first thing he said back was, no, not entirely yet. We've just been busy. With this and that, blah blah blah. We're still thinking about it. And so all that means is I now need to get over there, get with them in person. A couple more phone calls isn't going to do the job. I'm going to have to carve out the time, get over there, meet with them, sit down with them, and then go through this whole pitch in order to get that closed, or in order to get that sale. And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time, and it's not easy, but it's what you got to do for a lot of folks, because again, most of the people we're talking to don't understand crypto. And if they don't understand something, it could be the best thing in the world. They're not going to do it because they don't understand it, right? And so we have to break it down. We have to make it simple. But one thing about me, if you guys don't know, I'm from Missouri. And being from Missouri, they call it the show me state. Like, my people don't believe anything from anybody if you just tell them about something, right? If you send an email or a text or a phone call and you're just talking about something, they're never going to do anything. You got to show them. And so that's what I focus a lot on. And I try to be in person. The best thing for me is being in person because then you can read the people, you can read the body language, read the responses, and you kind of know what you're dealing with. A lot of these people, like the Mike Healy's, he's had great success doing YouTube videos, building out a funnel system that almost automates his whole thing for him and doing webinars, right? And, the webinars has been a big popular thing. It's just not my favorite, right? I like to be in person because I'm very hands on. Norm says, how are people asking you questions? The chat is disabled in the Q&A chat, just like you posted here. If you just put it in the Q&A chat, I'll see it. Trish says, is there a place where we can find the recordings of prior sessions? Yeah. So the thing with the recordings is they're in Telegram. After Telegram, after those recordings get posted, 12 hours later, they're buried in Telegram. They're just super hard to find. So if you can, these sales call recordings are always in the objections and rebuttals chat in our Telegram group. And so if you can dig back through there or search in that section, you'll find these recordings. Bobby posts them usually, a few hours after we finish. Norm, if you have a question or comment, put it in the Q&A chat because I'm not sure with the chat if it's disabled for you. I don't know how to turn that on. Next week, I'm definitely going to try to figure out how to get this camera fixed because I do not know why I have no video. It's pretty wild. Anyway, let's see. Doug says the recordings are really easy to find on the Team TEXIT YouTube channel. That's perfect. YouTube's easy to navigate. If all of them are there, if somebody's making recordings and post them there, that's great. So yeah, you might try to look for that, Trisha, in the Team TEXIT YouTube channel. How do you get in your Telegram? Chris Ann, Telegram, when you get your miners, your original welcome email, you can scroll through there and there's a Telegram link there. And whenever you click that will get you to download Telegram and that will get you linked into our Mine TXC Miners group chat. And if you don't have that welcome email, you should have got one. If you don't, reach out to your sponsor or send in a support ticket through your back office if you don't have that. And if you send in the support ticket through the back office, you should be able to ask them to get you on Telegram as well. If you put in your Telegram, you'll have to download Telegram, set that up, and then you can post that in the support ticket, and they should be able to get you added. It's very quick, so it shouldn't take them very long. Anonymous Attendee says, on Tuesday's meeting, Bobby spoke about a Ranger application. Is there one? So the way the TEXIT Ranger group has always worked was you had to be nominated by another Ranger. And my cousin Tim is working on doing it a little bit differently, where he's going to put a Ranger application out. There's not one currently right now, but that is something that's being worked on. So then that way, because a lot of people don't know who their Rangers are or who their leader is, or even if they're in a group that has a leader, right? So he's working on putting something together that people can go on and send an application in to be a Ranger. Because we have a lot of great people out there doing a lot of things that really don't have any leadership able to nominate them or get their name in front of people, the right people to see them, right? And so that is coming soon. Anonymous Stindy. I don't know how long, but it will be coming soon. And if you guys haven't seen, there's been a lot of updates this last week. With the new website, we got a new website on the dashboard there. It's laid out a little bit differently. But some of the things we've added is like the events calendar, right? You can go on there and it'll kind of tell you what kind of upcoming events are coming, and you can click on that and kind of go in there and see if there's anything in your area and or anything like that you could bring people out to. which is something that we've needed for a while. There's a lot of good updates with our website, though. We're not done. We're able to process ACH now through the website, through the MindTXC website when you're signing people up. If you haven't done that, if you think that would help you or benefit you, it's definitely available now. And, that's been a great thing. It processed a lot of money this last week. And, we had a big week last week, which was great. And I think going forward, we're going to continue to have big weeks. And that's because we have a lot of things going for us right now. And we've got a lot of things coming up, especially right after the first of the year. That's going to be very exciting. And I think Bobby will start talking about, what we're going to be looking at going forward after these million seats fill up. And I think that's really going to empower the community. I think it's going to get a lot of people fired up and ready to go out there and work hard. Because when we start talking about our future and where we're going and less about the mining, like selling the mining spots, that really energizes people. It really shows you, what the goals are going forward and easy to relay people. And when we start doing that, I think we're going to continue having these big weeks. But like I said, we just got a lot of stuff coming, down the pipeline right now that's going to be super exciting. And then with our big Dallas parade on December 6th, there's going to be a whole lot of eyeballs on TEXITcoin. I don't know if everybody out there understands how big this parade is, but we're going to have a TEXITcoin wrapped vehicle pulling every float. TEXITcoin's the main sponsor. It's televised in front of like 20 some million people, and all of Dallas, Texas, right? So that's pretty cool. But we're going to have a lot of publicity with that. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see what comes after that. Becky says, when I signed up 3 months ago, people were still saying that the daily mining output was $4 to $5 a day and that it was 200-ish days to get your 1K back. Now that daily mining coins are more like $1.60, it could take 600-ish days to get 1K. What is a good way to approach it with prospects to help them see this long-term outlook? Becky, the best thing you could do is go on the help desk and read The Last Seat on the Rocket Ship. And the reason why is because Bobby published that article a while back explaining why somebody would want to buy the last seat on the rocket ship. Because with that last seat on the rocket ship, you have no affiliate program. You can't sign anybody up. You have 100 mega hash, and that's it, right? If you buy that last seat on the rocket ship. And so if you read through that, that'll give you a very good picture on how to approach that with prospects, okay? But what I would tell you that also right now, our market is down. Everything's been down, right? You just kind of wrap it all up into everything. Bitcoin's down tremendously as well. So everything's kind of taking a dip. So right now, today, it's $1.60. But that same seat is going to produce, back to that $4 to $5 a day once we get to like $7 or $8 a coin, right? We get back to $7, $8, $9, $10 a coin. You're back up to that $5 plus a day, and then you're making more money. But also, just the power of time too. Like most investments, like a traditional investment, if you go put $1,000 into the best financial advisor in the country, he may get you 20% return, right? That 20% is $200 on 1,000. So even over the next 600 days, the 2 years, like you're saying, you're going to yield $400, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less off $1,000 investment. And with this, and then you're also not going to have any daily accumulation, right? No, not really much of a dividend or anything like that. You're really just going to have to get like those big 20% returns, typically going to be on growth stocks, right? Something that's going to produce a lot of growth over that amount of time. And so, you know, with what we have, with what our opportunity is, it is long term, right? Nobody's going to get rich quick. Nobody's going to make $1 million overnight, but it's going to feel like that if you give it a couple years. And the reason why is we have a clear mission on where we want to go. Bobby's put out there many, many articles now, the path to 16, the path to 80, the path to 800. He even did a YouTube video with, which you can go find on YouTube, with Mike Healy and Terry Tillert, on how he explains we get to, $2,000 a coin. And it's a very powerful video if you watch it, because, he explains it's going to take time to do it. It's going to take a few years. But if you're a part of this and you have just one seat, right? One seat on the rocket ship, 100 mega hash. If it's $1.60 now, look, it's not great, right? You have to be transparent with people. You have to be genuine. You have to be honest. Yeah, it's not going to make you rich overnight whatsoever. But if this project's still around in 3, 4, 5, 6 years and we're still talking about this, this one seat's going to be life changing, because our mission is to be a top 5 crypto one day. You're only going to get there with our coin price of 2,000 or more. And that's our goal. And our goal is to do that in the next 4 years. Within the next 4 years. And so it seems like a steep goal, but mathematically wise, Bobby really breaks it down good in that video and explains that it's not that far-fetched. We can get there. We just have to keep doing what we're doing. And, when you understand the next few phases of this plan and what our future is, we can do it. We can do it. It's a very solid plan that he's put together. And TEXITcoin will be a top 5 crypto. I wholeheartedly believe that, in the next few years. And so just having one seat, getting a tenth of a coin a day at $1,000 is $100 a day. At $2,000 is $200 a day, right? Same thing if you would have got into Bitcoin back in 2010 mining Bitcoin. You would have been getting probably a couple bucks a day in Bitcoin back then, right? It would have been so minimal, like that guy that threw out whatever it was, 800,000 Bitcoins or 80,000 Bitcoins on his computer. He threw it in the trash because back then it wasn't worth anything, right? But in time, when it gets more valuable, it's going to be life-changing. And so you really do have to focus on the future, but you got to explain too, like, this isn't a pump and dump. Like, it's a slow drip that you get off the mine. Now, the benefit you can do right now when you sign up for that $1,000 seat is pick up $1,000 in coins too, or $500 worth of coins, because right now it's cheap. Like, we're still under $4 TEXITcoin right now on the market. It's very, very cheap, at least in my opinion. And so it's a good opportunity to do both, just because if you have those coins and the price does go back up, if it goes back up relatively quickly, you can cash out those coins and then take your risk off the table. One thing I've done a really good job with when I was signing people up in the early days is explaining, like, how you capitalize on this opportunity, not so much what TEXITcoin is, but how do you get in and how do you get your money out and take your risk off the table. Everything you do in life is risk and reward. And so the people that are getting in today, yeah, they might be getting $1.60 to $2 a day off the mine. But if they pick up some coins now while the price is cheap, and in 90 days, 100 days or so, we double our price on the market, they can take their risk completely off the table. They can make their money back, take it off the table, and then they can just let it ride, because they have something that's going to pay them every day for the rest of their life. And if you can explain that opportunity to them, it's going to resonate with them, and it's going to make them feel a little bit safer to go ahead and take this leap of faith, this gamble with us. If you can show them how they can take their money off the table, take the risk out of it, because once you have no risk, you cannot lose. And so it's a little bit scary getting in now, right? When people don't know everything, but you kind of have to put your money into this. You have to get on the inside before you can actually see and understand every part about this opportunity and what our project is. Um, and that's part of it. I tell everybody that too. You're never going to understand what TEXITcoin is until you put your money in and you become a part of this, because you're going to get out of it what you put in it, not just money, but time, right? And the ability to learn more and more about this. And so, maybe Becky, you try to explain how they can take their money out of this quicker and eliminate their risk. Because when people eliminate their risk and they realize how they can capitalize on it and not lose money by taking their money out, putting it back in their pocket, that then it's a no-brainer. And that path to 16 shows you the breakdown of how fast we're going to hit and get to different price points. And so Bobby still has we're still planning on being at 529 and 749 and $10 after that. We're still planning on hitting all those steps to get to $16, but it's predicated on how fast we grow too, and how fast we're selling these seats. We had a pretty good week last week. If we can have another great week this week, do a little bit better the next week, a little bit better the next week, we're going to be right on track to hit our goal of $16 by the end of February and having this mine sold out. We've now sold 210,000 seats. So we got 790 to go, 790,000. And, this thing's going to get faster and faster and faster and faster because, again, now we've got 50,000 people a part of this, not 15,000 like we had just 3 months ago. We've got 50,000 now. And so if everybody goes out there and tells one person, this thing's basically sold out, depending on how many seats they buy. If everybody goes out there and signs up 3 people, the whole mining seats, those 790,000 seats are completely sold out if all 50,000 people went out and told 3 people. Because on average, most people are buying 4 seats. At least that's what the dashboard tells us. On average, each miner has 4. And so based on that, this thing can still go very, very quickly. So that's how I would handle that. Even though we're only getting $1.60, $2 a day, it's still going to add up over time. Because again, that daily accumulation never stops. And then now, the biggest thing now, guys, with the closing, like after you've explained everything to everybody, they wrap their head around it. They're like, okay, well, I'll put my $1,000 in. I'll gamble on this. Now you have the easiest way in the world that you can sign people up now by having them go right onto the MineTXC website, putting in, pay with ACH, and then all they got to do is put their routing and account number in, and it's just done. They automatically go in. There's really no wait time. It's all pretty automated now, and it's pretty neat. And so we've made it now that easy for folks to pay. And so that alone is going to help grow this thing faster. Where the last several weeks, like I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the last several weeks we made it extremely difficult for people to join because we were only taking crypto, and you had to know somebody that knew somebody in order to pay with crypto or do a peer pay, right? Where some of our top leadership guys could actually do peer payments. And take people's money and convert it to crypto. It's rough. It's tough. It was really hard for people. And so even for me, I was maxing out my limits, every single week, every single day, every single month with PeerPay and my Coinbase and my crypto accounts. But now with the ACH thing, it's very, very simple. So Cheryl asks, so if we do ACH, we have to have crypto? No, if you go on to the MineTXC website and you sign somebody up right now and you click ACH, they can pay for their mining seats with ACH right through the MineTXC website. You do not have to have crypto. They can pull it right from their bank account. ACH is like a electronic check, right? So they put in their numbers off the bottom of their check, routing an account number, and it's good. They're good to go. And it's almost immediate. Everything is pretty automated, Cheryl. So like if you put somebody in tonight, if you don't see them in there tonight, then it'll be first thing in the morning. They'll be in, done, all onboarded completely. So I know that when you put them in through the website and you do the ACH, I think they go in the system and everything. They get onboarded immediately, and then like the ACH will pull the money out of their account like the next day, like 24 hours later. So it's pretty streamlined. It's pretty quick, and so far this last week, they did a lot of business with the ACH. Everything went pretty seamlessly. They didn't have any issues, so we foresee that being a very good solution to the problem with what we had before, which was banking issues and everybody having to pay with crypto. How do people place in your binary if they sign up through external website? We've been doing it from our back office so we can place them in the process. Okay, so Chrisanne, so when you are, and it's not an external website, like it's the same website, MineTXC. It's just before you go to log in, you hit join now, right? And you put all the people's info in. And then what you need to do is you need to log into your back office and then send in a support ticket with placement on that person where they need to go. And I think we're looking at changing that up a bit so it is easier for you guys to do placement. But and I think we're looking at adding the ACH option through your back office. So then that way you can make it simpler. And you can actually go to your placement tree, put the people in where you want to put them, and then onboard them and pay with ACH right through your back office. That's something that will be coming very soon because that's something we've already discussed. But right now, if you put them in through ACH just on the front of the MineTXC website, you would have to go in and then do a support ticket through your back office on placement. And as long as you do that, they'll get it and they'll make sure they get in the right spot. But yeah, in the back office is something, ACH through the back office is coming. Cheryl says, can we do ACH if someone wants to purchase $200 in coins? No, the ACH cannot be used for coin purchases. The reason why, that's two separate things. For $200 worth of coins, the best thing you can do is, again, go buy the coins yourself and then send them over to them, or show them how they can, because the whole point to the TEXITcoin, guys, is to show people and educate people on the benefits of using crypto. So I know it's frustrating for a lot of people in the beginning when you first get set up, you have the hold periods and it's confusing and it's different. It's frustrating, but if you show them and teach them how to do it, right, then they'll be able to go from there. They'll be able to learn as much as they want to from there. But as of right now, if you have somebody that wants to buy $200 worth of coins, you need to go buy them for them, take their money, and then send them the coins. That's the easiest way to do it if you're wanting to help somebody to get some extra coins, which you can buy straight through the back office. You can have them deposited right on your hot wallet or their hot wallet, however you want to do it. But yeah, you still have to use crypto to buy coins. Now, my department, I'm handling anybody that wants to buy 10,000 coins or more. We call it our new VIP whale program. So we have a couple goals with that whole program. But if you have somebody that's willing to buy 10,000 TXC or more, that's when I can get involved and I can broker the deal and I can make that process very simple. But the minimum for that is 10,000 TXC. Right now at market price, I think it was like 350-ish. That's $35,000. So that's kind of the minimum of what my threshold handles. That would be the minimum, and then sky's the limit to that. I've helped a lot of people purchase and buy, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 over the last couple of weeks that we've done, that I've helped with personally. And for those types of deals, we have a different process. And you also don't necessarily have to use crypto for those. Because of our VIP rail program, our mission and our goal with that is to go to our top leader or our top holders, which is the top 100, and get them to sell coins. And so we broker those deals off market, which helps our market. It actually helps our market because it keeps the guys that got in early from dumping large amounts on the open market. But then it also gives people the reason why they would sell is because they don't necessarily want the crypto, they want the cash, right? So then we're talking about wires, checks. There's different things we can do. If somebody wants to come in with a large order, so you don't necessarily have to use crypto for those. But again, that's something that you have to get with me, and I facilitate that whole order. But for the small things like $200, Cheryl, you're definitely going to have to help them out, pay with crypto. If there's anything else, guys, drop it in the Q&A. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm actually out in Arizona. That's why I'm kind of frustrated. My camera's not working. I was going to show you, sitting out here in Arizona. The weather's beautiful. Kind of spending some time with some family for the holidays. And then next week I'll be back in the office. And hopefully I'll get this camera working then. But I'm probably going to wrap it up here if there's nothing else. And I'll see you guys next week. Like I said, we're going to have a special guest next week. I don't know how many we're going to have, but I know we're going to have Jennifer or Jason Hommel, one of them, maybe both. They're going to be at an event, but they assured me that they would love to come on here, share some knowledge on what they've been doing. And, I'm going to try to keep doing those interview style meetings. So that way you guys can hear from the community too, right? And hear from our top producers on what they're doing out in the field and in the trenches, to share their success. So that way you guys can pick up on that and, help you here and there too. But let's have a good week. We're going to wrap this up. Again, the recording, we'll get that posted in the objections rebuttals chat. But we're coming off a good week. Let's have another great week. Let's keep building and growing and pushing. So that way we can get to where we want to be, right? Everybody has this whole affiliate program, I think, is going to be over a lot sooner than what a lot of people think. So we have a very small amount of time. We have a very small window to accumulate and get all the juice out of this TEXITcoin opportunity the best we can. Whether you're taking USDC for commissions or hash power or more TXC coins, whatever your strategy is, I hope everybody gets the most out of it. That's one thing that Bobby's always told us. We have $500 million earmarked for commissions. If we bring in $1 billion, 50% is earmarked for commissions. That's all for us to get the most out of this opportunity. And so I say good luck to you guys. Happy hunting. If there's anybody that needs help, anybody that needs me, reach out to me in Telegram and we'll schedule a meeting. We'll get on a call. We'll go through with what you're struggling with and, get you back on track. So have a great week. Have a good night. And we will see you on tomorrow night's Tuesday night call, weekly update. Bye.